Hi everybody, I'm Ghost Note, and in this video I'm just going to go over the patch notes for Synthesis League for PoE. Uh, I'm just going to be like off-the-cuff highlights of things that got my attention. I'm going to be looking over at my screen, as you can see, because I've got some notes. There's nothing going to be much on the new skills or the skill tree. I need to see the numbers and a visual representation of that stuff. It's probably a separate video. I know as of this recording, the skill tree has been updated in Path of Building, so I'll probably go over that and do that just in a separate video to highlight some of the new stuff. Rather than just reading words. And I'm going to go through things more or less in order of where they appeared in the patch notes. So if you want to skip ahead to some certain things, like you're only interested in certain things, it'll be more or less the order they appear in the patch notes. I might skip around a little bit, but not very much. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go through all this new Challenge League stuff, synthesis, that's been all done. The new content stuff, like the new gems, I think we need to see the 2020 gems on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, before we make a decision on any of that. So I'm not going to bother going through that. We've got some new stuff like music. I'm looking forward to hearing the new music. I always enjoy Camel's music. So yeah, looking forward to that. Or Camille, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry, Camille. Whatever it is, I like your music. And then you've got the fractured synthesis, all that stuff. That's fine. And you've got some Zana stuff like Fancy Zana and some interesting 3D art stuff. Yeah, nothing too big. Okay, the first big chunk here that I'm going to go through is the character balance. First thing here is Energy Shield Leech is new. It's great. It's weird. It's really strange to me that it just got added and it's already probably the best supported source of leech in the game. Strange. You'll see that a little bit later with the Life Leech and Mana Leech jewels. I don't understand why they're not the same as the new Energy Leech jewel they put in, which has more damage on it. And anyway, it's weird, but it should be fun. Should be good. The crit change is something I assume makes design, like all this crit stuff. I assume it makes design and balance easier. For those of us not smart enough to figure out all the little tiny machinations of what's going on there, it just looks like controlled destruction with EO is harder to use now, which is, I don't know, it's a little annoying for non-crit builds, which I like. So not a huge fan of that, but whatever. It's the new skill gems may make up for it. I don't know, but just looking at it, first glance, it just looks like it's a nerf to control destruction EO, which is not the best, but whatever. Consecrated ground looks pretty good. They've shown that off a few times. In its native form, though, which is just, pooping it out on the ground, it's still going to be pretty much just used by Inquisitor, I think, just because of its static nature. But the new spells that actually put Consecrated ground somewhere else besides right at your feet, those will be good. I'm not totally sure what this curse modifier thing is. It says it previously affected the cast speed and duration of curses and now instead affects curse skills, included curses and bane. Now, what is that? Like, did that get rid of those modifiers, and maybe add effectiveness? I don't know exactly what this means, but that could be good if that's the case. It's certainly not changed on the POB tree. You still have cast speed and duration of curses on there. Okay, skill reworks. Let's see. Holy Flame Totem. Let me just go over to my notes here. You're going to see that pop up a few times. The numbers seem fine, I guess. I don't know. It should be a strong starter, I think, because totems are always strong starters. And all the things that it interacts with, like Consecrated Ground and Channeling and everything, they're all getting buffs. So it'll be a solid starter choice, I would imagine. The better projectiles, too, should make it feel really good, like they're increasing the range and everything like that. So all that's good. Fires more, they have a wider cone, etc., etc. More totem life, it'll last longer, gains projectile speed. All good stuff. The thing that is interesting to me in this is the now considered channeling and will be affected by things which modify channeled skills. Now, does that just mean stat-wise, or does that mean it can be used with things like the new Storm Barrier? Does it mean it can be used with cast while channeling? Could you have a Holy Flame Totem cast something else while it channels Holy Flame? I'm going to err on the side of no, but someone should check that out and see. Just saying. Stormburst. Yeah, no longer fires projectiles, now fires orbs of energy. I liked the old Stormburst, to be honest. I liked that interaction with slower projectiles. I liked that it was a little bit of a skill usage ability, but this looks pretty strong. It has good numbers, good mechanics. I'm really interested in it. It's hard to say if it'll be better on the new Inquisitor or the new Trickster, but I'm going to lean towards Trickster because Swift Killer is crazy, and there should be easier mind over mana interaction with that because it has like no mana cost. It costs 5 mana at level 20. Even with all your modifiers, that's not going to be much, and there's stuff on the skill tree that can lower that. So, yeah. Should be pretty good, I would think. And it also, yeah, all the mechanics seem solid. All right, let's move on to skill balance. Let's see. Cremation was the first one that caught my eye. I'm not going to go anger. I guess I could say something about anger. It got buffed. That's great, I guess. It's good for some of these spells. I'll probably mention it in those spell sections. Not going to talk about Arc. I don't like Arc. My friend loves Arc. He can tell you all about Arc. It got nerfed. It'll still be fine. Arctic Breath, Armageddon Brand, little nerf, should still be fine. Sadden's Mark has to do with that whole crit thing again. Again, I don't understand the machinations of that completely, but I think it's overall actually a buff. Because it scales with increases to your crit chance, which you can get a lot of. So I think Assassin's Mark will be even better for crit builds, which is kind of funny. Let's see. Blade Vortex, Med, a little buff, no big deal. What did I say the first one was? I gotta skip through some of this stuff. Cremation, right. Cremation was the first thing that caught my eye. It just got lower mana cost, pretty decent damage buffs. The anger buff compounds it even more because it's got better damage effectiveness now. It was a bit clunky to use before as far as clearing, but Unleash and Intensify may make it really good single target. If depending on how much you're casting it, I guess. And two, if you've been running around for a while and then pop down Unleash and pop down like 3 of them, just like boom, 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 without needing like an Echo or a Spell Cascade, that could be good. I'm not sure if the AoE buff on it's got like a radius buff, is enough to make it good for clear, but I'd be interested to see. So, yeah, that's Cremation. Detonate Dead, again, got lower mana. You're going to hear lower mana cost a lot. Lower mana cost, pretty decent damage buffs, especially its damage effectiveness. Got a huge buff from 100 to 160. Again, Anger will compound that even more. And the skill tree buffs should really impact it, like cast speed, the AoE, and stuff like that, like the stuff they added to the skill tree. The main issue with it's generally been quality of life, not damage. So if the quality of life goes up on it enough, should be really good. Should be fun to use. Discharge. Good old Discharge. It's got a much lower mana cost now, which is good. It's got a cast speed increase, which is probably good. And the damage increase for all the charges is good. I still think it'll be used more as a trigger spell than a self-cast spell, but we might see some return of self-cast Discharge. It could happen. It's definitely feasible now. I think you could do it, so if you really enjoy that, should be able to do it. Next one. Essence Drain was the next thing. I'm not even going to look at the stuff that I don't have written down here because I would be here forever. It's got a lower mana cost, again. Significant damage buff, like a large damage buff, like 40%. I'm not mathy. But anyway, especially at level 1, it's gonna scale a lot better. It's got a self-spreading AoE now. This now explodes on impact, implying the Essence Drain debuff to enemies in a small radius. It deals no hit damage, but if it explodes and you've got enough area, I'm wondering, does that mean that Contagion is no longer necessary to spread Essence Drain? Contagion got its own buff where it hits more enemies now. I had no idea it even had a cap. I didn't know that was a thing, but it's possible. I would try it out if you really like Essence Drain and see if you can spread it without Contagion, because that would make that playstyle a lot smoother. Although it would take away some of the uniqueness of it, so meh. EK. Oh, the nostalgias of EK. The nostalgias. I used EK forever and loved it a long time ago. It's one of those things, though, that the game's definitely passed it by a bit. Less mana cost. Again, pretty chunky damage buff. Yeah, pretty decent. 30% or so. And 33% maybe. I don't know. Anyway, and the added damage effectiveness, of course. I still don't know if it'll do enough on single target, just because of the way it works. It's just not a great single target spell. But with everything like Unleash and the Chain and Fork buffs and the skill tree buffs, all that stuff, it should be a really good clear skill now. Like if you want to just run maps with EK and go nuts, it'll be really good. I think. Like a Tri-Herald element. Oh, yeah, Tri-Herald Elementalist EK. That'll just blow up screens. That'd be fun. Next one's Fireball. Good old Fireball. Mana cost was slightly lowered, I guess. But mostly it was got an unneeded damage buff, in my opinion. I thought it did a lot of damage. It's probably the definitive Ignite spell now. I don't think anything's really going to come close as far as ignition spells. There's some attacks and stuff that like Scourge Arrow and Burning Arrow that will probably do more ignite damage, I think. I don't really know. I'm not too up on ignites, but I think this is the definitive ignite spell now. It just seems like it will do a great job igniting, better than Flame Blast. Sorry. Yeah. But even a direct damage fireball won't be bad now, I don't think. So, yeah. Flame Surge. Well, they got a damage buff. Where are you, Flame Surge? There you are. It's actually higher mana cost, but that's not a big deal. A damage buff, which is a little strange because it already did a lot of damage. And the length is an interesting add. I like the spell. Probably be used in trigger things again. Cast on crit. Cyclone, cast on crit, Flame Surge. If you can ignite stuff with your Cyclone, it'll be funny. I still think it should be called Flame Whip, like it was originally, because I like that name. Let's see. Freezing Pulse. Again, more nostalgias. Yay, Freezing Pulse. Slightly higher mana cost, but really beefy, well, not really beefy, but decently beefy damage increase, 15-20%. And the damage effectiveness, again, went up. And the other thing is the skill tree changes and the new gems will really compound this as well. Like Unleash, can you imagine walking along? You've got, like, say, Unleash builds to 5 stacks. You're walking along after you haven't shot, and then you unleash like 5 freezing pulses. That'll just look cool. I don't know if it'll be cool, but it'll look cool. So yeah, and then all the skill tree like faster casting and prod speed stuff like being added to those nodes. Freezing pulse should be pretty good. It wasn't bad. It was just sort of, it'll still deal with terrain issues too. That's the other thing. So keep that in mind. Frostbolt. What can I say about it? Higher damage. Oh, higher mana cost. It's one of the few higher mana cost ones. But it did get a decent damage bump. I thought it did decent damage before, but it was sort of used as a vehicle for Ice Nova since they made that change. They did lower Ice Nova some, so it may not just be that anymore. I like the spell mechanically. It's good, and with the Threshold Jewels, you can get pretty decent clear, so Frostbolt's probably going to be perfectly viable. It's just kind of a, I don't know. It's just there, I guess. But it's certainly not bad. Should be fine. Ice Trap. Oh, man. Ice Trap. The Ice Trap buffs we've longed for so long. Not really. But anyway, the circles have a larger radius. I honestly don't remember how big it is, but I know it's small, so anything larger is good. And it got a pretty chunky damage buff, too, like 50%, as well as added damage effectiveness. Should be a strong trap, and I would actually consider combining this with Siphoning Trap, which I'm going to go over in a second, which also get a buff. The only thing is you would have to scale just generic cold damage, because you can't scale the dot damage. If Ice Trap did like cold dot damage, that would be a build. But I still think you could use Siphoning Trap as a good added source of damage. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, something to keep in mind. I do think Ice Trap will be a thing. Incinerate, get changed again. It's got less mana cost, which is probably good. Again, for a channeled skill, you can probably make that almost negligible. And then the radius, of course, it did need some radius. It felt bad as a radius thing a lot of the times. It does plenty of damage. It's just quality of life. And, yeah, a little bit of damage increase. So, again, this is one of the things that will be impacted a lot by the skill changes. Not so much the gem changes. They actually may be a detriment, other than the energy shield leech, I guess. But the skill tree changes with like the channeled stuff and the cast speed. This practically screams Trickster to me. You do the channeled Swift Killer thing with all the extra cast speed. Yeah, it should be a good Trickster build. Scorching Ray will be too, but I'm not going to talk about it. Orb, because I don't like it. Orb of Storms is the next one that stood out to me. Oh yeah, it's probably going to be a pretty viable self-cast build now. Seems boring. You're just throwing down an orb and watching it zap things. Should probably do something else besides that. Maybe throw in some lightning tendrils. That got a boost. I don't know. But anyway, but the one thing about it too is its mana cost was lowered, which means proccing higher leveled Arcane Surge is going to be more of a pain. Like your breakpoints for where you want to level Arcane Surge, so you can just throw down one Orb of Storms and have it proc. It's going to be lowered with this. I would actually use Stormbrand now because Stormbrand, I think, actually even costs more mana now. So, and it costs a lot more than Orb of Storms. So, yeah, I would probably use Stormbrand for that now. Shock Nova. I do like this one. Shock Nova was interesting to me. So the mana cost was lowered. Cast time was lowered a little bit. And the damage was pretty heftily increased. Again, I'm terrible at percentages, but like 25%-ish-ness? Yeah, something like that. Around that. 25 to 30. And then the damage effectiveness was doubled. That's pretty cool. I like that they're doing some more damage effectiveness in some of the spells, because some, especially Abyssal Jewels for spells, were kind of not the greatest. This will make them better. I still don't know if they'll be competitive, but it will make them better. It'll make them more viable, depending on what they change with Abyssal Jewels next patch. I don't know if that's just melee, though, or not. Anyway, getting off track. Bottom line, this got a damage boost. Probably still going to see a lot more use in, like, cast while channeling, charge dash, something like that might work. It'd be a little clunky. But especially like a Cyclone, cast on crit, Shock Nova, or a Mjolnir Cyclone type of thing. Yeah, it'll see use in that for sure, for sure. Shockwave Totem. Again, lowered mana cost. Huzzah! It has increased damage. Yeah, you know, decently sized increased damage. 30, 40%, something like that. Damage effectiveness upped. I want to do this just for the lulz, because thematically I like Shockwave Totem, how it like bounces things around like pinball bumpers, and if you have enough of them, it looks really funny on screen if you've got like 5 totems bouncing things around constantly. But I'm pretty sure Holy Flame Totem will outstrip it in every meaningful way. Still, if you really like Shockwave Totem, you can probably do a thing with it now. Not that you couldn't before, but I think it'll be actually usable now. Siphoning Trap, like I mentioned before, they just upped the base cold damage per second all across the board pretty significantly. Like, this is a good buff. This is like over or around 50%. To me, this is sleeper strong because it does such a good job of sustaining you as well. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things that you'd have to try out to see, but you can scale this now, and if you could clear with Ice Trap and this, yeah, I don't know. You'd have to try it and see, but I may try it and see, just to see, because it interests me. And I've always been interested in Siphoning Trap. It just didn't seem really good enough. At any rate, it'll be better for leveling, because that's a pretty big bump leveling-wise. That's tripled. Spark. I'll talk about Spark. I don't like Spark, but I'll talk about it because it is a pretty substantial change. Lower mana cost, increased damage, blah, blah, blah. Can re-hit things faster is the big thing here. It clears its hit list. If you don't know, Spark, it used to be every 1 second. If a projectile had hit something, like if you had Pierce and it went through it or whatever, it couldn't re-hit that same target again for at least a second, which, if you were bouncing your Spark around, you know how Spark works, where it bounces around in areas, those projectiles wouldn't necessarily be hitting things as much as it looked like they were, but they lowered it by a third. So that should be a lot better, especially in areas where you can really bounce your projectiles around. You should get a lot more single target damage, especially from that. So yeah, and it got a pretty decent damage increase. So yeah, Spark will be good. I still hate it, but if you like it, go ahead. A lot of people will love it because a lot of people just absolutely love Spark and Ball Spark. Whatever. Stormbrand, it got slight nerfs, still super mechanically amazing and super strong. Don't worry about it. Use it for your Curse on Hit or Arcane Surge or Onslaught procs now too. Just use it. It's still great. It's got a tiny nerf. It's fine. Still be really, really strong. Storm Call, yeah, lower mana cost, higher damage. Pretty standard stuff. Just a decent boost, but it was already fairly strong damage-wise. They increased the damage effectiveness too. This is one where I think it's probably the most impacted skill from outside source changes, like the skill tree, like support gems, you know what I mean? Like not just the skill itself, but like anything that impacts it. Like, because Unleash and Intensify should both do things for it, I would think. like good things. And the skill tree stuff is all good, all the cast speed and area and all that stuff. Unfortunately, you still pretty much need the lab enchant to make it feel good. And that's what sucks about Stormcall. I really hope I find it. SSF, by the way. I really hope I find one because I would actually like to play one. I would even like to play with this on with Spell Cascade because Spell Cascade feels good on it. But if you don't get that, it's not as good. It's probably still usable, but it's just, yeah. That's why they need to just change enchants up a little bit, I think, so that some of them don't feel absolutely necessary and others feel like just a silly little boost that you don't need most of the time. Unearth. Excuse me. It's got a lower mana cost now. It does an area explosion on hit. I don't know how big this will be. I don't know how much you can expand on it. Like, will it be similar to Fireball? If it is, that's good. It's got higher damage again, so like it's got a pretty hefty amount of damage. Like if you look at it, it does a lot of fizz damage, which you can convert. You know, and it got a good boost, good damage. Well, a little damage effectiveness boost, I guess. Anyway, all those things are good. I think it still struggles with terrain like Freezing Pulse does, though. Like I think it, and like Arctic Breath used to. So they just seem to randomly not change some of these things, and it's weird to me. I'm not sure what they see that we don't, but whatever. Let's see. I think that was actually. Oh no, there's a couple more. Sorry. I did forget a couple really important things. First of all, we'll skip down one to Winter Orb, and just say it got nerfed slightly. It's still stupid strong. It can delete things. I killed Uber Elder at level 85 with less than 5k health, and I'm terrible at that fight. Just terrible. I didn't record it. I should have. It would have been hilarious. Anyway, the bottom line is I did it with that little amount of stuff. And so, yeah, it's wicked strong and it's mechanically great. It's fine, even with a damage nerf. And it really wasn't a hugely huge damage nerf. It'll still be really good. And lastly, don't forget about Whirling Blades. It can now affect up to 40 targets per attack, up from 20. Had no clue this is a thing. If you can actually do this consistently, hit 40 targets with your Whirling Blades in a purposeful way, please post video evidence and I will be your undying follower forever. I will pledge my allegiance to you. Yeah. So that's the regular skills. Vol skills. I'm just going to give quick shots here. Vol BV is still fine, even with the noticeable damage nerf. It's probably justified too because it was really just shredding things, one phasing bosses, so it's fine. Your Blade Vortex build is still good. Vol DD and Vol Fireball will definitely see some more use because their respective base skills got buffed. I mean, these are just crazy damage numbers, like up to 2,092 damage. You might be able. I said that Fireball would be the definitive ignite. There's probably an argument to be made that Detonate Dead could be in that realm. I still think Fireball would be easy to use to spread ignites compared to Detonate Dead, because Detonate Dead has the extra step requiring corpses, but it'll be good. And just regular, I think, straight up like initial hit Detonate Dead will be really good. And having these two things added damage effectiveness of 200%, that's just nutty. And Vol Fireball has the same as Fireball, which is now 180%. So really good. They will see a lot of use. And lastly, Vol RF, it's still worth pressing. They nerfed it. But, I mean, 28% more spell damage at level 20. That's still good. It's down from 39%, so you lose 11% more spell damage, which is a nerf, but justified, because it's pretty strong for one button press. It's still good to use, so long as you can work it into your build, which you should, most of the time. Supports. Okay, Storm Barrier. This is one of the major things that stood out for me. I really like this. Potentially. I have to see the numbers. Anyway, let's just read through this. So Storm Barrier has been renamed to now called Infused Channeling Support. Sounds so fancy. No longer grants reduced lightning damage taken from hits while channeling. Okay. No longer grants chance to gain a power charge when hit while channeling. Okay. Now grants reduced damage taken from hits. Just all hits while channeling. Well, of types matching the supported skill gems tag. Also still reduces physical damage taken from hits while channeling, which is good. Now grants infusion after channeling for a duration. Infusion grants more damage of types matching the supported skill gems tags, and now causes supported skills to deal more damage based on the gem level. So it's got a more damage multiplier right off the bat. But it really depends on how this works as to whether or not it's just okay or whether it's an awesome, absolutely must-have for channeling skills. Like if the less damage taken, more damage given thing there of tag types applies to every tag on the gem, like say you had it linked up with, say, Stormburst. Stormburst is channeling, lightning, AoE now. I don't know if it's got anything else, but we'll just say those three. We'll use those three for an example. Now, does that mean whenever you're channeling it, you take less damage from all of those different types? Because if something was in turn hitting you with Stormburst, like say Piety, would that triple dip on that? So you would take less of all that damage? Or is it just like the elemental damage type? So you're just taking like less lightning damage. Like, is it just the simplified version and doing more lightning damage? Because if it affects every single one of the tags, like it seems to suggest, this is going to boost everything the more tags you have, and suddenly more tags on a channeled skill equals more damage with this, which is really weird. So I think it's really interesting. It just depends on what the numbers look like what the more damages are and what it impacts. But keep an eye out for it. I think it's a really cool, potentially designed, and I love these types of things, these support gems that have like layers, like it's got a defensive and an offensive layer. Really, really like this. Infused channeling. I called it Storm Barrier, which it was, but infused channeling. Like it. Arcane Surge. So it gives a more static damage debuff, in addition to the buff, the global buff caused by Arcane Surge whenever you proc it. So like if you've got it linked with something, it gives it a more damage debuff now, which is fine, I guess. It might create new ideal breakpoints for leveling that gem. Like usually you would level it to somewhere between 6 and 8, depending on what setup you had it in, like Orb of Storms or something like that, and then you just leave it so that every time you hit that, you would get the Arcane Surge proc. But now that you're getting more damage as it levels as well, you might sacrifice that and instead level it higher, so you're getting that more of that flat or that static more damage, I guess. I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is you might level it higher now. It's probably still not a main link for a lot of spells. There might be some niche cases where there's not a lot, where you run out of supports for spells where you would use it. But where it's really cool is on Shaper Staffs, where you can roll it. You can roll gems are supported by level 16, 18, 20 Arcane Surge. Shares a roll with Power Charge and Crit roll, so you can't get both of those, but for your non-crit builds or crit builds where you're not heavily invested into Power Charges, it should be better. So keep that in mind especially. It should be really good there. Chain and Fork, they get damage buffs. It's great. It's fine. It's just kind of boring to me. That's all they did. They just changed the numbers, but they'll get used now, I guess, which was the intent. So that's good. Better for clearing. They'll get used more. Good stuff. Decay, this seems maybe either inconsequential or else sleeper good. I don't know enough about Decay. Someone will probably work with it and make it work with it. Especially in like something like a Soul Rend build where those projectiles are doing hits and then also applying a chaos damage over time. If each of those hits also is applying Decay, it'd be more dot damage. I don't know. I have no idea with Decay, but it seems like it could potentially be better. It's doing decently more damage. Let's see what else. Innervate, there's good damage duration buffs, and it puts it kind of more or less on par with just the flat added damage support. The thing is, it's still inferior for prolonged single target fights, because you need to have it really needed the on kill or on hit effect. Like right now it's just on kill when you get the extra buff. It's good that it lasts longer, but if you've got just a single target going on, or if you're like attacking just Shaper or just Elder in the Uber Elder fight, something like that, then you're not getting it. It needed a 10% chance to gain it on hitting a unique enemy like Onslaught and Summon Phantasm on Killgut. All right, Life and Mana Leech. Don't understand why this is. It just 10% increased damage while leeching at 20% quality. Meanwhile, the Energy Shield Leech, the new support gem, has a more damage multiplier while you're leeching and while you are on full Energy Shield. Don't understand why these didn't get the same treatment. Maybe they will in the future. Really weird to me. Onslaught now has a 10% chance to proc when hitting a unique enemy. Put it on your Orb of Storms or Stormbrand setup with, your Curse on hit or your Power Charge and crit, whatever. Enjoy your perma Onslaught during boss fights. Seems pretty good. Spell Cascade, again, got a damage buff, kind of boring. It's not really a super necessary link for a lot of spells. Most spells just don't really need it. But the ones that do, like Storm Call, is a lot of the stuff that rains from the sky, like Storm Call, Firestorm, Ice Storm, Bladefall, maybe Cremation, like I was talking about. That type of stuff, it's good for them. So yeah, it's good. It's just a little bit of a boring change, but it's fine. And Summon Phantasm on kill, like I said, has a 10% chance to summon a Phantasm when you hit a unique enemy. That's a really good quality of life. Summoners will probably use that now. Not going to go over the passive tree thing. I'll do that in a different video where we can actually look at it. Let's go to the Ascendancies. Trickster. Swift Killer is amazing for channeling skills. Amazing. Getting power and frenzy charges while channeling seems really strong. I am definitely going to use this. Ghost Dance and Escape Artist are also really good. They're more usable. They're more impactful now with the Ghost Shroud thing and everything. They're not so niche, and they're keeping that evasion energy shield interplay flavor that they had, which I really liked about it. I thought was good already, so I'm really looking forward to making a Trickster. Should be really good. Inquisitor. Sanctuary seems really strong. The new Sanctuary or Sanctified that's been reworked seems really strong for builds that need to stand still more often. That would mostly be channeling builds, so it's going to be in competition with Trickster, but in certain cases, yeah, it should be really good. The Consecrated Ground, always there while you're stationary, and increased damage, and flat mana regen too, it's good. And Pious Behalf is kind of a mixed bag. I really thought that Consecrated Ground, like it says here, Consecrated Ground, you create lingers for 4 seconds. I thought it did already. So I might be missing something here, or maybe this means for 4 seconds longer. I don't know. I'm really not sure. Anyway, a little bit of a nerf to the attack and cast speed on Consecrated Ground, which I don't really understand. But anyway, immunity elemental ailments was already there, which is good. And 200 flat energy shield regeneration is better than the percent, I think, that you had before. I think. I'm pretty sure that'll scale that better. I'm not familiar enough with that to really know for sure, but it seems like it'll be better. Yeah. Slayer, I don't understand. I don't understand why bothering with the change for not the overleech part. That I get. They changed leech. It's fine, whatever. But this whole reducing the damage while leeching and upping area of effect if you've killed recently from, I don't know. It's just weird change to just sort of throw in here when they're not doing the melee stuff. It just seems like they're kicking melee and stuff like that while it's down. Slayer is just sort of uninteresting and not worth taking most of the time over other things. So hopefully that gets changed next league. All right, let's look at items. We're moving along here, but enchantments being a separate thing other than, like, you know, implicits and corruptions is fantastic. I always hated having to choose between the two, and now you don't have to. That's really neat, especially if there's an enchant that you find like you feel is necessary, like the leech enchant on boots, or even something that you really want that is impactful, like the penetration and stuff like that. Now you don't have to choose. I think that's really good. It'll probably make running lab a little more desirable, at least to get your enchants. You might as well, because it's a way to improve your character, right? Without having to sacrifice anything. Lowering the Atlas-specific implicits, and I talk about what I mean by that is the two-tone boots. They got the resistance lowered, and the bone helmets lowered, halved minion damage. It's meh. I mean, the minion damage damage helmet I get because of the node that lets minion damage also apply to your damage over there in the west by the Templar. But that was sort of a problem of their own making. Like, everybody could see that happening was it last league they put that in, or the league before? I don't know. I think it was Delve, right? Yeah, it was Delve. And everybody knew that was, people were going to abuse that. And they did. So I get it. It's just it was a problem of their own making. But the two-tone boots were, well, they were really good for one line of this of these patch notes. And then they died. Well, not died. They're just, I don't know. I don't know if that needed to be taken down, but maybe that's fine. I don't know. They'll still be okay. The 8 to 12 resist. It was just nice to be able to get this to fill out resists, especially early on in a league. Right, the damage conversion mods on stuff. So this thing right here. It's good. I think it opens up design space. The damage taken as a type, an element type, mod is available on some synthesis implicits that we've seen, so you're going to get that from there. The extra damage mods were like double dipping via like added chaos, non-chaos as extra chaos, so it's fine that you can only get one of those on, and you can add an elemental roll now as well as these, which you couldn't before. Just read through that, it kind of explains it, but it just, yeah, like I say, it frees up some design space and doesn't make it just stack this one thing. They should be still worthwhile mods to craft. It takes them out of the realm of you need this or else, and instead gives more options and frees up design in the future. So that's good. Stacking OP mods like mana and quality probably needed to go, especially quality, though in the case of quality, that's another kick in the balls to melee this this league, because you can't get those crazy like 48 quality weapons anymore, right? And you can't stack some really good modifiers, so I don't know. Whatever. They probably could have waited on that one, but it's fine. The mana one probably needed to change. People were really stacking mana, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really do that, but I can see how it would be overpowered with my Mind Over Matter. The Scarab nerfs are probably good for the economy in trade leagues, but they're a real crotch kick for SSF. I don't like that. I don't like getting less stuff, but I understand that sometimes you need to change things for the betterment of the economy. Uniques. Death's Oath. Death's Oath lovers rejoice. It's more damage, significantly more. What does it say? 25% more. Yeah, so pretty good buff. As far as I know, Death's Oath's actually quite good. Like, I know people build around it. It's just a pain in the butt to actually get your gem colors. So as long as you don't mind that, yeah, it's good. And there'll actually probably be some chaos builds that will take the time to color it correctly and use that in addition to other things. Yeah, so it might be neat. Ooh, a Bane. I don't know. There will, yeah, Bane, actually, Bane Death's Oath build might work because you're really cursing things up, so possibly. Let's see. Whispering Ice. Right. I hate Whispering Ice, but it does have a lower cast time now, down from 1 second. It's 0.75. It was 1 second. And 6% chance to crit, up from 5. Should be strong. I can't get over the fact that it murdered my frames on my old potato computer. It'd probably work okay now. Just visually, I can't stand it. It's a strong skill, though. So I imagine people will build it. I have a friend who absolutely loves this. If you've ever been to my stream and seen Mojo there, he loves Whispering Ice. He'll probably build around it because he likes it a lot. Rippling Thoughts. I really like the idea of this unique. It used to be a 1 second cooldown. Now it's 0.5 damage effectiveness. I had no idea what it was before. I couldn't find it. But anyway, it's still probably not quick enough, even at 0.5. It might be, though. If I got one, I would try it. But it's a pain in the ass to get. Just say. All's Uprising changes. All this is fine and everything. Like, this just shows with the crit thing. Just make the dex and strength aura versions of them better, because right now, the only ones that I think are really any good, besides not having to reserve the mana, which I guess is nice, but the only ones that have any other good stats on them are the int-based ones. The dex and strength ones are just meh. So just make those ones better. Rip Tomb Fist. Just kidding. That little attack speed cut is not going to do anything. They're still amazing. Lore Weave, it's probably a justified nerf. It's still got all its other stuff, which is great. 2% less max resist is obviously less max resist, but it's okay. And if you're playing SSF, you probably really had the divine budget to make sure you got to 80 unless you were lucky. I know a lot of mine usually ended up at 79, and then I said, screw it, I'm not wasting any more divines. Watcher's Eyes, yeah. There's going to be, with the new auras, they added 2 new auras. For each aura on Watcher's Eye, there's usually somewhere between 5 and 6 mods that can roll for that aura. So, assuming they followed that pattern, that's going to be 10 to 12 new Watcher's Eye mods, so that's going to further dilute the pool, which is not great. I mean, conversely, new mods can be fun. They might be really interesting and cool to play with, but it's going to be harder to get the Watcher's Eye that you want now. Poet's Pen. So instead of using 2 now, because you can only ever trigger the spells that with the one that you hit, so you're alternating attacks, you're going to be casting the spells less. It used to be like no matter which one you hit with, you cast all the spells in the Poet's Pens. So now you're probably going to maybe go to 1 and a Lycosa day, so you never miss. Actually, yeah, because you have to hit. It says hit, right? If you attacked. Okay, so yeah, you don't need a Lycosa day. Never mind, scratch that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'll still just use both and it'll just be a little worse. I think it'll still be all right. But it is a nerf. Soul Tether, this people were up in arms about this thing. They say it does not change the function of the item at all. I don't really get this belt. I never have. I mean, I understand what it does, but it just seemed like a pain to build around. People are saying it provides like kind of instant slayer or like a pseudo slayer leech. Now, whatever. If you are interested, look it up. To me, it's too much of a headache to build around. It gets hit however leech got hit, basically like the same way, and that is basically big hits are impacted more than smaller, faster hits. Yeah, that's about it. World changes. World changers. Really, the only thing here I wanted to highlight is that Lily selling detonate mines and added chaos is way overdue and is fantastic for SSF. So now the only drop-only gems are the Enlighten, Enhance, and Empower ones, which I'm fine with. Those should be kind of a special find chase type of thing. They're all fairly strong in their own right. So yeah, I'm cool with that. That's good. That's a good change. Monster changes. The only thing here that I really wanted to look at was just the curse effectiveness here. It's probably mostly fine. It'll make your damage curses more important, mainly probably on map bosses, because that's probably the 60 that went to 33. These would be like more like your endgame bosses, like your Guardians, your Shaper, your Elder type of thing. 80 to 66 will still make them kind of, it's a little more damage. I mean, it's effectively a 14% more for your damage curses. Also, with the changes to Enfeeble and Temp Chains, I didn't go over that, but they got nerfed, so they're probably not going to be as effective. I think overall it's going to be about the same, is what I figured out. So basically, this is just a way to kind of buff some damage curses without necessarily buffing the utility ones. So probably fine. It's not a big deal, though. I don't think it's really going to impact it a whole lot unless you really invest into curses and curse effectiveness, and then it might. Bane! Let's see, betrayal changes. Let's see. Most of the mastermind changes are all good quality of life, like all those things, like making it easier to step on skeletons, making sure she doesn't end up in the corner in the fire areas where, say, melee couldn't damage her. Stuff like that, like, all that quality of life. Mostly, I'm just happy that it's not as punitive to kill her and then have your whole syndicate reset. That was really terrible, and so the fact that that's not happening now, hopefully you'll kill it, at least for the crafting mods now. Mostly good reward changes on these. You can read them. There's a bunch of them. They're sort of vague-ish. I mean, some of them are more obvious. You get stingy and vices on some things. It'll probably change up. Ashling on intervention giving of jewelry with 2 mods is kind of cool. There's a few things. It'll change up what you do. The Giannis stuff is really good for SSF, as is the Varici stuff. Getting more currency, more fusings, more chisels. Always good. This line kills me. Vegan's chests in all jobs now give more and better items. Will they be good? Stay tuned. Who knows? Who knows? If it's just more rares, no. I still won't have vegan in there. So we'll see. All right. And then, what was it? The veiled mods here. There it is. Yeah. The It That Fled's veil mod. Whereas before you could have he had a specific signature mod where you get non-chaos added as extra chaos. You could craft that. It's been split into physical, it's added chaos, lightning, cold, and fire is added chaos. So the values have been adjusted. You can get new powerful modifiers that appear in the basic mod pool. So that's cool. You can sort of more finely tune your weapon slots for your damage. This was mainly to combat people converting elements and then double dipping on both of those, because the added chaos would be added each time through the conversion chain. It's fine, except that it further dilutes the mod pool on the basic mod pool of items dropping. So it's going to be harder to get some weapons, but I guess if you get a good one, it'll be good. Let's see. That was it for there. The UI. We're almost done, I swear. I'm not going to go through any of the Zana stuff and the map stuff. We've seen all that. It's fine. The Breachstone's getting nerfed is good. It needed to happen. Yeah, nothing else really there. Yeah, besides the Breachstone. That's the big thing there. And we've all seen that. They basically just give less XP now. And they're less efficient for leveling, which is good because they were crazy. UI. Right. The tiers being contextually shown on items, depending on what they are on the advanced tooltip. And it's a great change. And it should actually clarify things in this game. Just imagine that. Something being clarified and simpler. But being able to hover over a ring and see that it's tier 1 for rings instead of just tier 5 overall, yeah, should be much clearer and make it much more obvious whether or not you should re-roll or recraft or whatever. The crafting bench displaying the recipes that you don't have unlocked. This thing right here is great if you're an OCD completionist with FOMO like I am. Yeah, it's really good. I like that. Knowing, oh man, I'm still missing such and such. +1 curses on chest. Never saw it. Oh yeah, and then filtering the Elder and Shaper items that they talk about right here. It's sort of almost a throwaway line. This is actually really useful. They say if that's something you want to do for some reason, you know what? Yes, I do want to filter out that eye level 72 shaped woodcutter. No one wants those. Bye. I'm really glad. That will definitely be good. I mean, if you're trying to make exalted shards, then obviously pick them up or whatever, I guess. But yeah, I, for one, want to filter them out. This just tells you where all the things are available on the new stuff and the change stuff, I guess. PvP changes. Sorry. And then there's various bug fixes. That's about it. This is probably already way too long, but that's what kind of struck me from the patch notes. Stuff I'm looking forward to. Again, like I say, the new gems and the skill tree, I gotta wait to see that stuff. I'm gonna go over the skill tree right after this, actually, and I may actually end up posting that video today, depending on how long it goes. I don't know. But anyway, that's a separate video. I'm just gonna highlight that stuff. But I really need to see that stuff visually before I can make a call on that. So yeah, there's lots more in the patch notes. I encourage checking them out and reading them, assuming you've got the time, because they'll probably trigger ideas or thoughts in your head that I didn't think of, and that's always good. Yeah, hope you like the vid, guys. Feel free to check out my stream. I'm Ghost Note Live at twitch.tv. I will link that in the description below. I'll also link the link to these patch notes in the description below. Leave your questions and comments, discussions, whatever. What stuck out to you? What was the one thing that stuck out to you above everything else? What are you most looking forward to in 3.6? Let me know. Yeah, other than that, other videos coming soon. Hope you like this one, and I will see you later. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.